Just come on up to your full power. Come on up to your full power. Come on up to your full power. Just come on up to your full power. Whoa. Hey everybody.
Hello, we're back.
I am always so startled by the number of episodes. We're on episode 4. That's like, whoa, almost done with the season.
Yeah.
Which means we're almost up to full power. And we have to do the things that we said we were going to do.
Yeah, which is just showing that it's coming closer and closer to a little bit of an end for the season. But that's a good thing, too.
It's a great thing. It feels like the time has flown. We've done some cool stuff. One thing that we did recently is we did a range test for Renee. We talked about that all the way back in episode 2, but we did do it. We now know that your range is G3 to E5, which is it's squarely in the standard range for an alto female singer. I believe the standard is like F3 to F5, so that puts you, your lowest note is a whole step above the average, and then your upper register is about a half step below the average. So you're missing out on 1.5 notes compared to your female peers.
I'm okay with that.
Right?
I didn't know I was missing out on anything till you said that, so.
And your range is an area of confidence, a place where you can really sing out. I'm sure if you really screeched, you could get something outside of there, but that's not really what we want. But we know your voice part, you're an alto. This is new information for you. How do you feel about that?
I feel better knowing, I think, a solidified portion of what I can look into, especially for getting into the last sequence of this episode. Like, if I'm going to perform something, it helps me feel like if I'm choosing a song for that, for this sake, I would want to choose something in that range because it just makes sense. When before I was kind of like, oh, I like this song and how it sounds, but that's with somebody else's voice. So it's fun to try and see songs that are in the range, and surprisingly enough, when I was looking up different ones within that range, they were things that in high school I would pick out to sing in the shower. Specifically the exact same ones. Like, what's the Adele song? Someone Like You.
Someone Like You?
That I remember, and I would try, I downloaded a music app for like singing one day because I was bored in the afternoon, and it has all the like little notes you're supposed to hit and if you can hit them or not. And that song I did over and over again one random afternoon, and then it fell in that range after we did this test. So that was just a fun little reminder, Easter egg of a memory I didn't remember till it came out.
The last song I sung in karaoke was Someone Like You by Adele.
Well, I'm not going to do as well as Tommy does.
Whoa.
So, we could do it together.
Comparison is the thief of joy.
Okay.
And we can do any song you like. Well, not any song. No. I also have a range that I try to stick to, but Someone Like You does fit in there. Adele is great for karaoke.
It was fun. So I liked learning that, and then I had fun trying out a couple songs that I know in that range now, and it does feel more comfortable. I'm like, oh, and maybe that's even me just psychologically being like, well, I know I'm in this range, so it should be better than other things, so that helps with it too. But a little guidance in which way to go. So that was a really fun, cool test to do, and I got to say yeah.
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 Yeah, the people talk about raising your yayas. We did that a lot to find out what your range was going to be.
I had to get told to be louder, which was okay, because I was so soft.
Yeah, because we're figuring out which notes you have confidence on, so you had to sing out. Yeah, and that took a few tries, but it was always a good result. And
the Saratoga accent came out when, what was it I was supposed to say? It's like on the way, step down.
On your way up, you would go wider with your A's because of where you're from. And we want to raise our soft palates when we go up so that you're able to stay on the pitch as it gets higher and higher and more outside of your range, especially as an alto singer.
I like that fun fact. I don't know why. That really stuck in my brain because it was just a silly fun fact.
Yeah.
This is where you're from, but this is why.
There was a lot of me making, like, tall signals and, like, moving up and down with my hands because your accent made you want to go wide. Yeah. So we fought against that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was good.
Yeah, and now we've got, it's one of those things where Google is your friend now, because you can say, which songs fit squarely in this range? And you find the right catalog or repertoire for you to feel really confident when you sing. It's exciting.
Now I just Google away for different references on what to try next. So, and then
G3 to E5, new tool in the tool belt.
we'll see how that goes. And then jumping into today's episode, we have another special guest. We have Shana coming here with us. She's going to be zooming in all the way from Colorado, and she's here to talk about a lot of different things. So I met her when I was in Ithaca College as an undergrad, but she was in the MBA program. And honestly, we really bonded over just the excitement of being outside, going on adventures. She was definitely a yes man to everything. And that got me excited to do a bunch of things. But she's always been really inspirational in every aspect that she's done. She's going after anything she wants to. And I think you all would really like to hear a lot of her thoughts on it because she brings a great perspective onto anything. So we're going to bring her on here.
Here comes Shana.
Woo! I guess we can jump right into if you wanted to talk a little bit about how your life was after MBA and just kind of your experiences with that. We'll start off with.
Sure. Well, great to be here. Thank you for having me. My life post MBA, I really didn't have an exact plan. I knew I loved traveling. I knew that I loved media and production, and I knew that I loved the outdoors, but I wasn't sure how I could make all that work. My life after the MBA program has been a bit crazy, crazy fun, lots of crazy adventures. I decided to immediately after the program was done road trip back across the country. And I did that for a few weeks, just house hopped, stayed with different friends, distant relatives, and all while applying and interviewing for jobs. I got a job in Los Angeles, coincidentally enough, while I was in Utah. So I booked it to LA and I worked in cast management on a reality TV show called F Boy Island. And I did that for a few months. And then through those connections there, I got a job for Fox Sports, mostly for their NASCAR division in Charlotte, North Carolina. So then I booked it back across the country and lived in Charlotte, North Carolina for 9 months, built up a life there. Then that contract ended. And through more connections, I got a job at NBC Olympics. I drove up to Connecticut and they housed us for a few months. So I stayed there, did the Olympics, helped produce different segments. And then I had about a month between that and my next job. So I road tripped back to Ithaca, actually. Took my car back all the way up there, stayed with some friends, saw Renee, which was amazing, and started my job as a media producer at TriDot, which is Iron Man's training partner, all while road tripping back across the country towards California, thinking that I wanted to move back to California. Except I got to Colorado and I was like, I'm not leaving. So built up a life here in Colorado, and that contract ended, and now I'm currently in lull between what's my next job, but I have decided that I would like to stay in Colorado as my home base, which is exciting. So that's been my MBA, post MBA experience. It's been super fun and lots of new people, lots of adventures. And I'm very grateful for the program for giving me the confidence to just kind of go out in the world and do all that.
That certainly sounds like a nomadic post-grad experience. Is that something that you think is a part of who you are, or is it something that anyone could learn to do?
That's a great question. I think that it's something that had to be kind of forced upon me. I decided to go for the job and not the location. So wherever was the most intriguing job opportunity, I was always flexible enough to just pick up and move there. I think that I was not spontaneous in undergraduate of college. I think I was like, hey, to a girlfriend, I was like, let's get coffee 2 weeks from now from 3 to 4 p.m. at this coffee shop. Whereas now I'm like, I can plan a day or two in advance, and that's how I like to do things in regards to things like that. Obviously, with work, it's different. So it was something that had to be learned. And once I learned how to do it, I kind of fell in love with it. I really believe objects in motion want to stay in motion and objects at rest want to stay at rest. So once you get that bug of like, whoa, I can just move here and do this and meet these people, you kind of never want to stop doing it. And it's really fun.
Yeah.
You look like
I want to be bitten by that bug, right? I want to have those kinds of experiences where you're able to go from A to B to C. But I think getting to A is very
Hmm.
intimidating, right? Because I also come from a place of planning very far ahead. The thought of not knowing what the next thing is, you seem so comfortable with it. But right when you
Took a while to get
graduated,
there.
okay,
For
that's
sure.
good to know.
Yeah, I think definitely getting to A is a big starting point. I think I started at step A, honestly, in high school and I was really lucky to grow up with parents that were very much like, go off, do your thing. As soon as I got my driver's license, I was driving an hour to the beach to go surf by myself. Didn't know how to surf, but just sounded cool. And then I think step A, I really, really benefited from solo travel. So you don't have to do this, but this is what I did on my first solo traveling trip. I just booked it to Spain and did this ancient pilgrimage across Spain. And I walked 140 miles across Spain by myself when I was 18. And that was definitely scary and really hard. But I think, like, even just booking a weekend away or taking yourself camping for a night here or taking yourself out on a date, like just going to eat at a restaurant by yourself or like going on a hike and just planning on sitting by yourself and reading a book at the top of a mountain. Like all those things really are dates with yourself where you're able to hang out with yourself more. And I think it builds a lot of self-confidence and kind of just propels you from there to be able to go do things. It's always scary, but I think if it's scary, it's good. And you're going to give yourself the best opportunities if they're not comfortable.
Hmm. I remember you said a few weeks ago that you're like, nobody just goes to a bar by themselves anymore and just hangs out. Like, that's not a thing
Hmm.
our generation does, but I think it might be good for us.
I 100% agree. Get out of your house.
And like with that, there's so many times that you've inspired me of, oh, even if I'm in a new place, new location, there's always stuff to do. And you're a huge advocate for we'll find something. Like you're
Hmm.
gonna find something that's interesting to you. If not everybody's on board, then you just go do it yourself.
Yep.
Like finding those little new things to pick up has always been a big component of what you'd like to do.
Hmm. And also surrounding yourself with people that want to do your crazy things. So I guess I kind of left out, but a big part of my life the past 2 years has been athletics as well. 'Cause I'm a triathlete, an ultra marathoner, and I love to ride from sunrise to sunset during the weekends of the summer and all that stuff. And in each location that I moved to, outside of work, I made sure to join run clubs, to join bike meetups, to just be outside and see who I meet and bump into. Like, for example, my new Colorado friends and I just got coffee with them this morning after our morning run, and they said, hey, we're going to do the Skyline Traverse Trail this weekend. You should come. The Skyline Traverse Trail is 6,000 feet of elevation gain and 18 miles of running. And I was like, I would never do that on my own right now. And that sounds scary. But they asked me to come. And probably by around the fourth time, I was like, all right, let's do it. But they're pushing me to be a better person and a better athlete and challenge myself by doing these crazy things. So it's really a huge part about who you surround yourself with.
So with that, what are your thoughts on people who don't fully have hobbies to fill their time in like the post grad space or like just being a young adult on your own? Like how important is that to developing who you are, rediscovering things?
Yes, great question. I think it's so important to have hobbies outside of your work or career that help not only define who you are, because that's a bit broad. Like if you're a runner and you get injured, you can't run, that shouldn't be who you are. But it's like if you find hobbies that you enjoy, I think you're just overall a happier and better person. And the whole point of life is to enjoy life. Like we are on this earth to like do hard things and grow as people and spread love, but why are you in a job that you hate or doing a hobby that you hate, just living a miserable life? So I think it's really important. For me, it's definitely always been more on the athletic side and the outdoors side. I think that people that don't have hobbies are generally stereotyping this, but generally less happy people. They don't know how to fill their time or they rely on other people or things to make them happy. But if you can try out a new hobby, like I'm trying a pottery class next week. I don't like arts and crafts. Like I'm not, but why not? I think getting out of your comfort zone and trying new things is probably the best way. to forge your hobbies. I also think if you think back to when you were a kid and what sports you gravitated to when you were a child and just didn't care about competitiveness or anything. Like I remember loving running like a weirdo when I was like in fourth grade and begging my mom to go on runs with her, you know? That's another way to think about it too. I think another way is just like if you're what would be your ideal day? And don't say drinking mimosas on a beach in the Caribbean. Like what would be your ideal day if you were living where you are living? What kind of activities would you like to do? I mean, it's hard. You gotta, it's all trial and error, but once you find something that sticks, it's great.
You got to dream what's around you, not what's a million miles away, unless you're willing to travel to that place.
True.
Because I guess one thing I can tap into, because Shana, you've seen me do this when we first were starting our running biking adventures of you were more leaning into, oh, let's just go see what all these clubs and activities have to offer. And I think specifically there was one bike group, at least for me, and for context sake, is I was watching them for a while, but I didn't want to go jump into it because I didn't know how it would be. But sometimes you need that extra nudge from somebody else to start. Like, that's always a helpful thing to find people who will help you just start doing new things. Because I don't know if you have had your own instances with this, but it seems like a lot of friends from Colorado are definitely doing that for you with new things you're trying out.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's all about who you surround yourself with, but if you're open to new things too. I mean, when I was in Ithaca doing my MBA program, I met a friend named Jacob, and all of a sudden we were training for an ultra marathon together because he was doing it. And he was like, "You should do it with me." And I said, "Okay." Things like that. And then, in North Carolina, when I was living in Charlotte, everyone goes, "Hey, we're all going line dancing." We go every Wednesday night to go line dancing and take lessons, and it's super fun. You should come. And I said, okay. So that became part of my weekly routine. And so I think like being a yes person, obviously you have to know when to say no, but being a yes person and having the mentality of you should always try everything once, besides drugs, but everything else you should always try everything once. Um, yeah, I really believe that. So that's a, a good way to push yourself.
And then to kind of poke on your point about knowing when to say no, if either of you have thoughts on when's the level of, oh, I'll try a new thing, but I can tell it's not for me. How long do you push at doing that just to be around new people versus when you have to still stray off and find your own path and navigating that? Because it can be hard if the only people you have around might not be doing your thing, but you want to go do that.
I feel like there's a gut feeling when something isn't for me. And if I am going to do something beyond that gut feeling, there might be a little bit of social pressure. If other people are interested in that thing, maybe I'll give it one more try. If you give yourself the time, like the quiet, to maybe journal over or really ask yourself if you're appreciating something that you're trying out, you'll know. I don't know if that's a very systematic answer, but I feel like we feel it.
It's a reflective answer.
Yeah.
I think you know when you know, and you just if you don't like it, then go find a different hobby that has different people. And but if you still like those people, then invite them over for dinner, type of thing, and still hang out with them, but just not do their hobby because you're not going to be happy doing a hobby that you hate forever.
Yeah, we want a lot of external validation, I think. So if other people are doing a thing and they're excited about it, we are encouraged to be excited about it. But if you do take a little bit of reflecting time, you know what feels good and what doesn't.
Yeah, that's true.
I feel like you started to say that's a bit of a soul-searchy approach, and I think that it is. But it's the system that works for me. Shauna, while we have you here, I have to ask for some triathlon tips
Of course.
because my big thing this year is I'm trying to run a triathlon.
Yay! Try new
Yeah.
things.
Mm-hmm.
Woohoo!
Yeah. And that's what we're all about here. My splits for each of the three segments. So I'm trying to do 750 meters of the swim,
Mhm.
and then it's 20 kilometers bicycling, and then 5 kilometers running.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
And
Amazing.
so
So you're
far,
doing a sprint triathlon. So it's going to be fast.
yes, hopefully. And I can so far do each of those three segments on their own, and I'm working towards doing multiple in the same day or
Mhm.
in one stretch. And making that transition has been difficult, not because I don't have the energy to keep going. Like when I hit that 20K on the bike, I'm ready to go and jump into something else and it feels great, but I don't have the time. Like, moving from doing on the day, doing the full triathlon, I'm going to set aside enough time to do all three. But when I'm doing
Mhm,
these workouts, when I'm like squeezing them into my day, doing more
mhm.
than one thing per day is difficult. Do you think it's still worthwhile to try and do a morning run and then like an evening bicycle, or do I really need to have them back to back to build up to this triathlon?
Yeah, good question. And Renee's a triathlete too, so she can also bounce off of me whenever she wants. But I think basically once a week you should try and have an off the bike run. So basically, if that's your Saturday, if Saturday is going to be your however long bike ride, try and do even like a 10-20 minute run right after. But other than that, you can separate them. It's just once a week you want to kind of give your body that like, oof, okay, two different sports and this is how we do it type of thing. I'm also so impressed that you're jumping into triathlons because I feel like a lot of people don't try new things, and triathlon is like a crazy new thing to try because you have to be really dedicated and good at three sports instead of one. Top off, that's amazing. Can't wait to hear about
Thanks.
it.
It's been like a natural progression because when I was a kid, I was a swimmer, and then kind of teenage years, I was on a bike team with my mom. That was just something we liked doing together. And now I do 5K runs just for fun as a break from the
Mhm.
MBA because I learned from Renee that there are a million of them up in Ithaca. And
Yeah.
so I've been doing those. And so it just felt like a combination of three things that I happen to like doing. I think
Mhm.
we just kind of fall into the new things that we want to try through a little bit of
Yep.
experience.
Amazing. I'm a firm believer too that what comes your way is meant to be. I think a lot of times, like the best way I can describe it for my life is the river's pushing us down with a current. And if we're trying to go against the current and say, no, I'm meant to live here, or no, I'm meant to be a runner, not a triathlete, or no, I'm meant to be with this person, it feels hard. And I'm a believer that a lot of life, majority of life, obviously there's some nuances, but majority of life should feel decently easy. Like my transition over the past 2 years, like I talked about earlier, sounds crazy, but it felt so easy and natural because I was just following what opportunities came my way, putting my best foot forward and saying yes to whatever felt the best. Just like you're putting your best foot forward and saying, yeah, triathlons sounds like it works and it's been working in your schedule, it's been working in your life, so you know it's time. I always said I've never done an official Ironman, and people would always ask me, Shauna, you're why don't you do an Ironman? You literally bike for hundreds of miles and run and do these crazy things. Just do an Ironman. And I always said it's just not time. Like I'll just know when it's time to do an Ironman. Well, the last job that I have, I was working for Ironman, so I got a free entry into Ironman. I became friends with an Ironman coach who offered to coach me for free, and there we go. Timing worked out.
Then it's time, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
I love that philosophy of the river and the current. If the root of all anxiety is expectation, either externally or internally, usually internally, then like if you're pushing against that river, that's just the act of creating those expectations for yourself. So if you just kind
Right.
of be willing to be adaptable and things can have a different time. Wow, I think that's really powerful. I like that a whole lot.
Woo!
Yeah.
Whose mind?
Yeah.
Thanks. I actually learned that philosophy when I was living in Ithaca, funny enough. So,
And even another way to think about how you said, oh, sometimes it feels like I don't have enough time. At least for me with training, with try things, it never feels like you're going to have enough time. Like you
right.
always are building up expectations of, I could have fit this in XYZ, I could have gone 10 more minutes here or there. Knowing that during the process you're going to have that feeling, but at the end, when you look back and see how much time naturally you spent towards it, it's going to be
Hmm.
shocking and it's really like rewarding part of it. I
Yeah.
think. So, hindsight, it's going to be great. I don't know how much you have experience with this. We'll see. Because this
Okay.
isn't in your normal stories you tell me. But my challenge for this whole season was to sing in public more, or like performance side of it.
I love that.
So,
Amazing.
my version of that, like taking, I guess, the goal and turning it to my own way is I was like, well, I want to do karaoke. in public because I
Mm,
won't do it normally. Is that like a performer's main goal ever? To just be like, yeah, I'm gonna do karaoke. No, that's every day to them.
yep.
But that challenge of like singing and performance in public, how much do you have experience with? I don't know.
Oh, how much do I have experience with singing and performing in public?
Mm-hmm.
More than you would think.
Yeah.
Um, first of all, that's amazing. I also would feel like a little nervous going to a karaoke bar, but I used to do a lot of plays and musical theater throughout middle school and high school. College, not as much, but I still play the guitar for my friends in Colorado. So, like, it's really fun. We have jam sessions together, and I've just kind of gotten over the nervousness of like, oh, I have to sing in front of them. And like, I'm not prefaced with, I'm not a singer. I can hold a tune and it doesn't make you want to scrape your ears off. So that's already step one. But I love that. Like just getting out of your comfort zone and singing and dancing in front of people. I've kind of done the same thing a little bit with more just dancing, like just kind of like, woohoo. Like if I hear a really good song while I'm grocery shopping in Target or Trader Joe's, I let my body just kind of like move along to it as I'm looking through the pasta aisle, like things like that where you just don't become super self-conscious and it actually just enhances your life so much. There was a really interesting study done, and I figured this out, I want to say like 4 or 5 years ago, I read about it. They studied people from basically their youth until they died. And so obviously different psychiatrists and scientists took over the study multiple times, but the study was on human happiness, and they found that majority of human happiness comes from your interactions with strangers, which I found was really interesting, and also comes from your community. So if you feel like you have a really strong community around you, and if you feel like you can go up to any stranger and just compliment them, give them a smile, you're going on a walk and you see a really cute dog and you just go up to the dog and say hi, those little things actually add up to our quality of life.
I'm a big proponent of moving to music whenever you hear it. And so when
Hmm.
I'm singing, I'm never stationary. And I
Mm.
think I like what you said about the grocery store because I think it's actionable for you, Renee, to even when you're not singing, try to let your body move to the music no matter where you are. You might be thinking in the grocery store, oh, everybody's looking at me, everybody's judging me. And if you do that all the time, if you're always dancing in the grocery store, you give yourself more opportunity to put that self consciousness away.
Yeah.
To
Yes.
say that people aren't really, maybe they aren't even noticing me. And even if they are, if I'm being my authentic self, then people aren't, nothing bad is going to happen.
The big secret that you're basically saying is that everyone is so concerned about themselves that they don't have the time, energy, or mental space to concern themselves about you. Maybe if you went into a grocery store and you started screaming at the top of your lungs, people would look at you because in dire need of help. Most of the time, if you're just walking around grooving and moving, no one's going to notice because they're already so self-conscious about themselves. And I think it's really interesting and lovely that you also try and move to music because I was a dance minor in undergraduate college, and one of my professors was very adamant about music is actually supposed to make your body move. Like you're supposed to move with it. It triggers your brain to want to move and groove. And we've been trained to fight that. And if you just let it flow and go, didn't mean to rhyme there, but it worked. Flow and go, you feel a lot better. You have more fun.
And I
And life's
think
all about having fun. Like, why do people have to worry so much about what you look like or what you're doing or what you're saying? Like, I say awkward things all the time. But you know what? I surround myself with people that also say awkward things all the time that are fine with me saying awkward things all the time. And when I say awkward things, we just laugh about it. And it's fine
mhm.
because who cares? It makes life more fun.
And so maybe if you're able to move a little bit more, it'll stop you from thinking about the performance itself. And then you'll be able to sing with more confidence because you took the first step of moving with more confidence.
Speaking of moving, can I add something into here that we haven't discussed yet that I think is really important to my life that I've tried to implement as someone that moves all the time? I have implemented, I guess you could call it meditation or sitting in silence or whatever you want to call it, but it's another huge tactic of me really going internally and feeling confidence within myself, just thinking and feeling who Shauna is. And I've started to do it with some of my friends. Like we'll go on hikes and we'll jabber mouth, jabber mouth. If we see a pretty view, we're like, okay, 1 minute of silence. Let's just sit here, enjoy the view. And our conversations after that 1 minute of silence are so beautiful because we all come out and we're like, I'm so grateful for you. You're such an amazing person. We're so lucky to be here. I think there's a lot to be said with silence. I'm a big proponent of moving your body, and I think that that gets the endorphins up, it gets you confident, but at the same time, there needs to be stillness, which I'm working on.
And I love that you brought that up because it reminds me of there was a time back in COVID, I used to watch like an influencer and she had her whole campaign for like workouts and everything. But she did a very similar thing where at the end of that session, she would be like, okay, we're all going to sit for a minute and meditate. And even
Mhm.
the placement of that right after exercise, I was like, why do I want to sit and be calm? I just was bouncing around. Like, I don't want to sit right now. But it makes you have that gratitude period, which people will just fly into the next thing in their day and forget about it. But when you sit and you're like, oh, wait, I got to do all this cool stuff. And now I'm here and I can keep going about my day with it.
Especially
Exactly.
when you're trying new things, because
Mm-hmm.
we talked earlier about having that period of reflection to see if it's something that you truly want to keep doing and continue with, instead of pursuing some other new thing that you might want to try. So that reflection period is also important. After hearing all of our chatter, podcast listeners, feel free to take a minute of silence. Let's encourage everyone to do that. Shauna, thank you so much for being here with us.
Of
I
course.
think you have a lot of inspiration to share, and so we're so happy to have you.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm honored. I think you guys have a lot of inspiration to share. So I'm so happy to be chit-chatting and talking with you. And yeah, I can't wait for this podcast episode to come out. I'm going to send it to all my friends.
It'll be
great.
fun.
And we'll
And to my
continue
mom.
to it goes to my mom first always.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this, you are at least the second person to be listening to this because it goes to my mom first.
Yeah.
But as we continue with our journeys to self-made triathlon and self-made performing in front of strangers, we're going to
Mhm.
keep you updated.
Please do. Keep me updated. Keep me updated on the MBA journey, the career journey, anything you guys need. If you have an interview coming up and you want to practice, or if you need connections in this sector of the industry, you have my number, you have my email. I'm always here. So happy to
Yeah.
help.
Keep me posted on all your adventures. What are you getting
Okay,
into next?
will
Especially
do.
the Iron Man one. I want to hear about that when that
Yeah,
happens.
I
Feature
will.
you on the Up to Full Power Instagram because it's not just us that are coming up to full power. Everybody's trying new things.
Yeah.
Just come on up to your full power. Come on up to your full power.